Studio on the KFGO campus, 790 KFGO, 104.7 Hope. We appreciate you joining us each and every week. This is a pregame show to a pregame show. Tim Hennessy at 6:30 will take over for the pregame show for University of North Dakota men's hockey. University of North Dakota playing Colorado College first round of the NCHC hockey tournament. So make sure to stay tuned. And again, tomorrow night they'll do the same thing. Hopefully it'll only be a 2-game sweep for this over CC. No game Sunday, but who knows? Anything can happen. It is playoff time. I'm Travis Dunn with our broadcast partner Scott Taylor. Text club number 35270. Twitter at TravisGDunn1 and S Taylor at S Taylor Sports. Good morning. Good morning. Good evening, Scott.
Hi, Travis. How are you? Good to see you.
Pretty well. You had a really good day yesterday in the big city of Winnipeg. Explain what you did over the lunch hour.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what I did at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
and I'd have given anything for that when I was a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Basically, these kids get an extra 40 hours of ice time during the season just through school. So that's what I did to start the day. And then at noon yesterday, we had a news conference, a dual news conference, for the 50th anniversary of the World Hockey Association. Their reunion is going to be in Whistler. So there were a number of great old players out there yesterday. Perry Miller was there. Mike Ford was there. Gordy Tummelson, who will be with us tonight. Suk, one of only 8 people that carried the Avco Cup 3 times, which is, that was a tremendous feat in the 8 brief years that the WHA existed. So we had a good day for that. And then we had the 45th anniversary of Slapshot.
There we go.
To announce that the Slapshot Golf Tournament is coming to Winnipeg August 16th, St. Boniface Golf Club. I know it's probably an old place you used to play a lot.
I played there a few times, yeah.
Yes, at St. B. And it will feature my favorite player, Alan Nichols, Johnny Upton, captain of the Chiefs.
Wow.
Chrysler plant, here I come. It's another line, but we won't do it on family radio. Yvon Barrette will be there, the goalie. Danny Lemieux, he will be at the tournament. 2 of the 3 Hansen brothers will be there. They have confirmed. We're trying to get a third, but there's some health issues involved. So
right.
2 out of 3 are coming for sure. And a guy who was, they said Dave's a mess. Dave Killer Carlson, Jerry Hauser will be joining us for the golf tournament on the 16th of August. So those announcements were made yesterday. It's going to be great, great fun. If you're a golfer from North Dakota and you remember Slapshot and you loved Slapshot, DM me on Twitter and we'll arrange for you to come up to a place.
Well, that's the question I was going to ask. So to play in the tournament, anyone would be able to join, obviously, for a fee?
Look, it's a fundraiser for Stop Concussions.
Okay.
And connected the mental health initiative. So it's a fundraiser. So it's not free to come and play by any stretch of the imagination. But with American money, I mean, it's about 8 cents. I mean, for a couple of hundred.
Well, the gasoline pricing might stop you from coming up a little. Hopefully by then they'll be down under $6 a gallon.
If it's not down by August, we got real problems.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, we have a real great show in line today, and obviously a representative from the Hockey Hall of Fame, Scott. We had to ask, where is the Avco Cup? And for those of you who don't know what the Avco Cup is, it was played for by the WHA. The Winnipeg Jets obviously won it a few times. Where is the Avco Cup? I'll ask that question.
Well, the Avco Cup there is one Avco Cup that I know of that's in the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame. But apparently there were a couple of Avco Cups floating around. I got to tell you, from 1991, trunk of my Mustang.
Okay, what?
The owner of the Jets had no place to put it. So I said, I'll take care of it. And it basically banged around the trunk of my Mustang for 4 years.
Well, I'm thinking Craig Campbell might ask if you could get that for the Hockey Hall of Fame. He'll be happy to take it. But Craig Campbell will be joining us here in a second. I can see his face. We do the show on Zoom, by the way. For those of you who are wondering, you can see our pretty faces up on YouTube Live. So I can see these guys on the screen in front of me. So it adds quite a bit to the show as well. So if you're driving down the highway on the way to Grand Forks to take in the pregame show with Tim Hennessy at 6:30. For UND Hockey at 7 o'clock. Make sure to stay tuned in for the rest of our show because we also have John Marks, a former UND hockey player, former Chicago Blackhawk. He's now the president of the Las Vegas Thunderbirds of the NAHL of the Las Vegas is where he's at. And he's also doing other things as well. So he'll be joining us. We're going to talk to him about how he almost became the coach of the Washington Capitals. It was between him and Bruce Boudreau. Scott, a great story, and John tells some really good stories, as you're well aware.
Oh, John's the king of telling stories. One thing yesterday, we had lots of great stories told with all those old Jets around. But John Marks, I have sat when John Marks was the coach and general manager of the Winkler Flyers.
That's right.
And I've sat in his office on a number of occasions, and he has regaled me with some tremendous stories. And one of my favorites, and it's recent, it was about a player who went on to be a pretty good player at Nebraska Omaha named Travis Keck. He's a pretty good hockey player. He, as a high school player, was one of the best you've ever seen. He was one of the greatest high school players ever. But he went to Winkler to play his junior hockey, and he played for John Marks. And so I said, you got young players, you bring young players into the crowd. He was a rookie, and I said, how's he making the adjustment to junior hockey? And he said, well, I think it's a little tough for him. Because when he played at Morris High School, the offense was, Travis, go get the puck and score. And now in junior hockey, he's got to know a few more things. Well, he had a pretty good junior career and played at Nebraska Omaha. Turned out to be a pretty darn good hockey player.
I tell you what, that's something I never heard. Travis, go get the goal, the puck and score.
Not for
those
you.
of you, I hope you're laughing as you're driving down the highway. That is, it's been 42 years since I played at UND, and I'm still reminded on a weekly basis by somebody, hey, you never scored a goal. And they're absolutely correct. I never scored a goal in my college career. A few back in my junior days, of course. But yes, so Travis, go get the puck and score a goal. Never happened. But a guy named Doug Smale did that quite a bit for me. But with that, we're going to change direction here. We're going to bring in Craig Campbell, Hockey Hall of Fame. Craig, welcome to Game on Hockey.
Thanks very much for including me on your show this evening.
Oh, you brought a friend. That's great. You got a pal behind you.
Yeah.
The joys of Zoom.
We
have
get
a
two
dog and two cats. So I didn't know. So that's Willow.
I love it. As long as he's comfortable in the scene there.
Yeah, she is.
The beauty of Zoom. Craig, I wanted to ask you, because I will ask you exactly what your title is, but the key in the number of discussions we've had is that you're looking for hockey memorabilia. You're looking for those people that are cleaning out their attics that played at Warroad or at Crookston or at Mankato or at UND, Travis Dunn. Those guys that do have hockey memorabilia, nothing is too small for you, from what I understand.
No, thank you. And so I am the manager of the Resource Center and Archives. Just one of a few of us are curatorial in nature, the kind of the hockey part of the museum, and we collect items, artifacts, and memorabilia from all leagues, all levels, worldwide. And so whether it's a specific state or a province or a specific town or city, senior hockey, university, minor hockey, international, we collect it all. We cover the world. And fortunately, a lot of very, very generous people in my 31 years at the Hall. That's the astounding thing, the generosity of people in believing what the Hockey Hall of Fame does. And we know there's other fine sport museums, provincial, where people have that option too. But we cover the world, and it's amazing what comes into our museum that we can preserve and subsequently share with all the fans who come and visit the museum.
In recent years, you've had some very, very interesting things come in. You were telling me a story about some stuff that came in from Germany. I really find that story fascinating.
So yes, the Ice Hockey News, very popular publication, newspaper in Germany. I asked them to, you've kindly put the sort of promo piece in that wonderful magazine with Andrew Kopp on the cover. I just got the latest issue, so today actually, but you kindly put that in your magazine to make people aware that the Hockey Hall of Fame is looking for things. And so the same happened. And so an IHF honored member, a Hall of Fame honored member, Alaus Schroeder, who played for Landshut E.V. Landshut, he saw that and thought, hey, I can help. So it was because of that that he kindly got a sweater off two of his, former teammates from different seasons. And he included some items, a little mini trophy and some other things, a book on the history of the team. And he packaged it up and sent it to me. It was very kind of him. And we see that all over the world. I mentioned to you in our discussions about the General Secretary of Hungarian Ice Hockey Federation. They had a sweater from the 30s, and that's why we call them hockey sweaters, because it is a sweater.
Yeah.
And so he thought, you guys need to preserve this because it's important. And so it's people in the Netherlands who donate things. It comes from all the countries that you can imagine, and then all the places that you might imagine as well.
You're listening to Game on Hockey on the Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM, also up on Zoom, up to YouTube Live, and our guest is Craig Campbell, who's with the Hockey Hall of Fame. You've carried that silver trophy, you call this Lord Stanley Cup, a few times in your career, but I do know there's also someone who carried that did not give you his shin pads. Were you ever part of the conversation with a guy named Craig Ludwig, who would not give you the shin pads that he wore at UND all the way through his NHL career, and he still has them, but he will not share them with you? Is there some validity to that story?
And you think he's got such a great first name too. But we inquired about the shin pads, and obviously they're very cherished by him. And those are the sorts of things that we try to identify. And obviously they were like goal pads. And but when Brendan Shanahan was inducted, he donated his shoulder pads, and they're nothing. Scott Stevens, when he was inducted, I kindly, just the way he played, we know about his shoulder, putting that into people. And so I asked him for a pair of shoulder pads as well. So some of the undergarments that players wear, as you point out, Travis, some guys wear them forever. And so therefore we understand, all we can do is ask. And if Craig Ludwig wants to hold on to them, that's his prerogative, but we think they're neat, and we'd love to be able to preserve them. And along those lines, same with a Butch Goring helmet. And I've spoken to Mr. Goring a few times too about that, but that's okay. I mean, hopefully it finds its way into a museum, whether it's the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame or Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame or the Hockey Hall of Fame. These sorts of things need to be preserved, because anything that is being used today will be old one day, and we can relate it to whatever they use in 50 years. And subsequently, those shin pads or Goring's helmet, those are the sorts of things you can go, wow. Yeah, and compare it to the helmet of today or shin pad of today.
Have you ever been to the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in Eveleth, Minnesota?
They have a terrific collection. The late Jim Finley, who was president 22 years ago, give or take, what a wonderful man. Jim and Dee Finley from, they live in Duluth. Sadly, he passed away, complications and then COVID. But we had a real good relationship with the U.S. Hall, and I've always had a nice relationship. But I was able to get a government grant, and part of the grant included an international component. So we sent, we phoned them up and said, hey, would it be okay if we send a couple guys down? It's part of a thing here, a grant, and they need to go abroad. And I thought Eveleth and the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame would be great, because why not help out? And so we went down, and we, a couple times, and we brought the Stanley Cup once, but so two guys, Rob Hines and Steve Poirier. Steve still works with us now, but they went down and helped out. So I saw the museum, I saw the Hippodrome. We saw some wonderful items. I know some sweaters worn by Ching Johnson of note that, are just spectacular. So I've been there, we've had a good relationship, and it was probably at a pinnacle with Jim Finley. He was such a tremendous guy.
Eveleth is the United States Hockey Hall of Fame.
Correct.
The Hall of Fame in Toronto is just the Hall of Fame. You aren't the Canadian Hall of Fame. You are the World Hall of Fame for ice hockey.
Correct. For hockey, you're correct. Hockey on ice, although we do have some, we have some electric wheelchair hockey items in our collection. Those players are not able to play on ice, but yes, it's hockey on ice, 85 plus countries, every league, every team that you know about, and a whole bunch that we don't know or aren't readily discussed daily on sports shows or otherwise. And that's the fun for all of us. I mean, when I started there in June of '91, I had a pretty good understanding of hockey, university hockey, up our way, and junior hockey, and some senior, and of course international, NHL, and other leagues, and the women's game. But then you get to the Hall of Fame, and what? I know nothing, because there's so much rich history in other countries, but also rich histories with teams like the Hershey Bears and Regina Pats. Although I knew who the Pats were, but those traditional old teams, and I think our involvement with the International Ice Hockey Federation has really opened up our eyes. We used to go to all the world championships at different levels, A, B, C, D pool, and then they rebranded them as Division 1, 2, 3, etc. But we're able to meet with the federations, meet people with federations like Zoli Kovac, who I've mentioned with Hungary, and really see how other countries cherish the game. And then the legendary teams in Hungary, Szekesfehérvár, which is Fehérvár 19, Volana is the proper name now. But just to get to know the legends in each team and countries, and just like UND, UND have certain players on the women's side and the men's side in the past that are legendary, just like all sports.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And so, if someone wanted to get in touch with you today, how would they do so to pass along this memorabilia?
Well, it would be wonderful. I always thank people for even thinking of us. And so probably the best way would be to email me, which is Campbell C, CAMPBELLC, the traditional way, I guess, to spell Campbell, with a C for Craig at the end. Yep. And at HHOFHockeyHallOfFame.com, HHOF.com.
Well, there you go. And so if you've got memorabilia out there, wherever you're listening, whether it be North Dakota, Manitoba, Minnesota, you have something that goes in the Hockey Hall of Fame, he's the guy to get in touch with. So, Scott, we appreciate you coordinating all this to get Craig on. We'll have you on again. We need to talk about the Stanley Cup. That'd be kind of a special thing to walk in every day to go to work and go, hey, there's a Stanley Cup sitting over there. That would be
about the ABCO World Trophy.
And the ABCO, which is in the trunk of Scott's car.
Used to be done before.
We have one as well.
Yes, there were two.
There were two. Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks, Craig, for joining us. And we'll take a quick break. When we come back, more fun and frivolity on a Friday evening. It's a little cool, but hey, hockey season goes on for a very, very long time. The playoffs, everyone. But stay tuned. After this break, we'll talk with Gord Tummelson, former Winnipeg Jet, and with the Hockey Academy. So we'll be back after these breaks. You're listening to Game on Hockey on 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. That was great.
North Dakota, as you traveled to Grand Forks for the UND hockey game. I hope you get there safely. I hope the roads are good. I got caught in the, what was that, little snowstorm that blew through last night driving south of Fargo, or south of Moorhead, pardon me.
Yes.
Snow squall.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it was, it got my attention, I'll put it that way. It was not a very pleasant time to be out in the highways, so I hope everyone got where they were going safely last night. And we are indeed from the Nilles Law Firm studio. This is a Game on Hockey. Good news for those folks heading north. In the lineup tonight, Scott, Gaber, Sanderson, and Fisher in after injuries. Reese Gaber back in the lineup, of course, and Reese recently named to the NCHC All, All League team, I guess is the right term for it. A great representative from our province of Manitoba.
He's a finalist for the Player of the Year, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
I think he is. Yeah. No, Reese Gaber had a tremendous year.
A little injury near the end, but he's recovered from that.
Yeah, but everybody gets hurt. We've talked about this 100 times. Teams that use injuries as an excuse are teams that lose.
Yeah, you got that right. And
everybody has injuries.
Yeah, exactly right. And tomorrow morning on the Round the Rink at 9:00. Usually we're on Thursday nights, but we're moved to Friday because of basketball. Who knows how many times that'll happen? But we may be on next Friday too, Scott. But we'll figure that out. But Around the Rink tomorrow morning, 9:00 on our sister station 740 The Fan. Wally Shaver, who is the play-by-play voice of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and we have Tim Hennessy, the play-by-play voice of University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks, and we have Bruce Siskey, the play-by-play voice of the University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. It's playoff time, so it's great to get their perspective. Wally Shaver and the Gophers are off this weekend, but as they wait for their opponent for next week's run into the playoffs in the Big Ten, so we'll get great perspective from those three guys. So good news with Gaber and Sanderson, and also news today that was actually put out on Twitter by the Ottawa Senators that Jake Sanderson will be signing with the Ottawa Senators as soon as the UND hockey season is over, and he will be turning professional with the said Ottawa Senators.
So I guess he's not playing in the World Junior anymore.
It sounds like that's probably the case. And for those of us who've all aged out of the World Junior, we open the gate and we enter.
That would be everybody on this show.
Everybody on this show. And Gord Tummelson. Gord Tummelson joins us from the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. You played for the Winnipeg Jets. Any of your memorabilia in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
No.
They would love to have it. They would take it.
Yeah. Maybe an old pad or something, but
yeah. Well, the interesting part is this: we all have boxes of stuff, right? And someday it's going to be thrown away. So why not give it to someone who will put it up and share it with the hockey world? And why not do that? So do it now while people can enjoy it. Maybe you can go watch it and look at it yourself and enjoy it amongst all that fun stuff that's there. So anyway, that's a good thing to have. But so Gord, it's playoff season. All of your Pilot Mountain hockey teams are basically on the road and out playoff season wise. So how is that process going for you at this point?
Well, at about 10 minutes ago, our U18 girls just started their first game. So they're playing the RHA team from Kelowna, which is a powerhouse group. So we're expecting not a great result tonight, except it may be closer than if we can keep it close, we'll be happy. But the U15 guys just left this morning. They'll start on Monday. Sunday. And the U17 boys will start on Wednesday. Yeah.
So it's nervous time around Pilot Mountain.
Yeah, it is. I guess it's a bit of nervous. So we don't have the strongest teams this year. COVID really did us a number, but we're in the process of recruiting. We can talk about that all day long, but and we hope that some of your listeners will be interested in what we've got to offer. But we're not expecting to win a lot, or at least to vie for the championships, but we're trying to upset some teams, and so it'll be fun, more fun than nervous, because we're the underdogs. So we're going to have some fun trying to beat these guys, and my goalie people are ready.
Well, when you talk about this league that they're playing in and the tournament, how far and wide do they come from to go to Kelowna to play in the tournament, or the Okanagan Valley, wherever they're going for the tournament?
Yeah, we're we and the Winnipeg RHA teams and St. Mary's in Winnipeg, the girls are the Eastern teams coming from Manitoba, and there's 50 teams going to play, maybe more than that. There's so many more divisions in Kelowna, or in Penticton, sorry. So it's from Manitoba right through to Vancouver Island. So there's a lot of teams and a lot of travel.
and a lot of high-end talent. There will be scouts galore at these championship events.
Well, that's the whole idea, I think, Scott, is to you showcase the kids. And sometimes the kids forget that, they come out and they don't play very well sometimes because, hey, everybody's watching you. Don't have a bad game. That's hard not to do, of course, you're kids, but we try and instill in them, play good every game. You never know who's watching. And yeah, there'll be scouts galore. And of course, it's on hockey TV. Everything's on TV now, or at least on the internet, and then saved in YouTube. So there's going to be all sorts of people watching, looking for that diamond in the rough, possibly, in some of our teams.
But I think one of the important things about your program is that you don't even have to guarantee it. Just based on the league you play in, and once you get back playing into the States, in that NAHL as well,
yeah.
Every time they step on the ice, there is a scout from some junior team or some college or some university watching them play.
Well, exactly. And as I said earlier, we had a rough year this year in the wins losses column. We lost a lot more than we won, but truthfully, if the kids play well and show as a good hockey player, it won't matter whether you win the game. And they forget that. And then some of the moms and dads do too. They get pretty upset when they don't win a bunch of games. And well, that's not the purpose. I mean, we like to win games, and there's a lot of factors in there. And there's some tremendous high end talent, like you said, in both the girls and boys programs. But the kids need to realize that it's their career that they're promoting along with the team success. So we're trying to balance that. Make sure you have personal success, and team success should come along with it in some way, shape, or form.
We're talking to Gord Tummelson, the Pilot Mount Hockey Academy. You're listening to Game On Hockey on 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. Make sure to stay tuned. At 6:30, Tim Hennessy will take the call of the pregame show before the Colorado College UND hockey game, NCHC playoff time, as it's playoff time everywhere. You talk about, Gordy, the teams, those individuals involved with these programs across Canada and as well as the United States as well, with Shattuck St. Mary's and so on. Like Dixon Ward, a former UND hockey player, is involved in the Okanagan Valley and Penticton. There's a lot of guys who have been there and done that. So the ability to help teach from guys who've been there, like yourself, who played in the National Hockey League, do the kids get an impact? Do they understand how valuable that wisdom you bring is?
Sometimes,
yeah.
sometimes not. I will say this, that I'm fortunate. I work with the goalies, and there's only 7 of them on the 3 teams we've got. So it's a pretty intimate group, and I'm able to spend some very personal and private time with the group. And so, my influence on them personally is probably greater than the other coaches that have. They just don't have the time to spend with the other 18 kids nearly as much. So, I make sure they know that I'm really a great coach and do all those good things for them. But at the end of the day, it's sometimes they get it, and sometimes they just, they've got a mindset of their own, and sometimes the parents have got too much influence. And so it's kind of one of those ones, and we've all got that. So, but for the most part, they respect the history and some of the experiences that we have.
Your U18 program now is being added next year, and as we did see a press release come out that you're looking for coaches. Would that be something that someone who's down here would be able to go up there and coach? I'm not sure how that border makes that boundary work, but you are indeed adding programs, so coaches are needed.
Yeah, we're not believing it is a problem. We think that if someone's qualified and wants to come to Pilot Mound, we're not too far from Langdon. We're not, we're obviously close to North Dakota and kind of Montana and those kinds of places. So we're not a million miles away from, all the activity for hockey. And so, the border shouldn't cause us a problem. There's, you can come across and spend some time and coach some teams. I would gather we'd end up with a Manitoba guy or gal or whatever. There's 3 of them we need. But that doesn't exclude, our friends from the States. We're glad to have your resume and see what might come our way.
Oh, there you go. It's a good opportunity for, not only for players, but for coaching as well, as they want to develop as they go along. Well, Gord, it's a busy time of the year, lots of playoffs. You got some TV to watch tonight with your teams. It was great having you on board, and I know that you were probably at the event yesterday with Scott, celebrating the WHA days, and boy, there's a lot of great memories going back down that alleyway as well. A lot of great things to remember the WHA. What a league it was.
Yeah, the WHA, well, it set the stage for what we have now. It was one league, and the players didn't get paid very well, I'll tell you. And now they get paid an awful lot. Maybe sometimes we think too much, but it's a 50-50 split, and that's okay, I guess. But back then, the owners pocketed an awful lot of money, and the players got literally nothing. And so it helped a lot of guys, reap the benefit of their skill and their entertainment value, etc. So it worked out in the end, and we all benefited from it, and we're certainly benefited from great hockey that we see everywhere at all levels.
Right, and not only in the United States or Canada, but worldwide. And
Sure.
we do appreciate you jumping on board. Good luck with the Academy this weekend. We'll look forward to the updates, how they did next week when we get a coach on board. But thanks, Gord, for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
You bet. Hey, Scott. That was, again, it's playoff season. Lots going on in the playoff world, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's everywhere too. I mean, on both sides of the border. I mean, I've been following closely that Minnesota college or high school hockey. That's been great fun to listen to on the fan.
Yep.
You've got North Dakota here in Manitoba. We've got the Manitoba Junior League starting, Manitoba Major Junior League, the Junior B leagues, the Junior C leagues, the Senior leagues are starting. All the AAA U18 and U15 leagues are starting. It is playoff time in hockey, and it's not just the NHL. And as I say to my friends, you love hockey. You say to me that you love hockey. Well, invest $5 in a AAA U18 girls game.
Yeah.
Go watch them play because they want to be cheered on too.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think the important thing is that if you really love hockey, get out and support the kids that are playing because they're going to be the next stars.
And for those of you north of the border that don't know about the Minnesota high school hockey tournament, 18,000 per game, and Warroad will take on Hermantown for the championship of
It'll
their
be huge,
division
won't it?
tomorrow. It'd be monster.
Could you imagine Warroad winning both?
Yep, the girls and the boys potentially as well. Yeah,
That's
Izzy Marvin will be joining
incredible.
us on the show. Yep,
Just incredible.
incredible.
I've been fired up about it because, of course, our relationship in Winnipeg with Warroad goes back 70 years. I mean,
yeah,
the
it really does. Yeah,
two towns play senior hockey. And my daughter played basketball in high school, and every year there was a home and home with Warroad High School.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
basketball is big too.
Yeah, darn right. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this here first, and then we'll go to a break. But established in the early 1900s, the Nilles Law Firm provides legal services in more than 10 areas of practice, including business and corporate law, estate plannings, wills and trusts, probate, commercial litigation, adoption services, as well as real estate. A division of Nilles Law Firm is Northern Title, which provides complete closing and escrow services along with title insurance policies for all types of real estate transactions in North Dakota as well as Minnesota, probably Warroad as well. Call Nilles Law Firm at 701-237-5544 or look them up on the World Wide Web at nilleslaw.com. Well, we'll take a quick break here. When we come back, the great John Marks, he's got stories. So as you're driving to Grand Forks, get into, open up another can of pop and enjoy the conversation with the great John Marks. After this break, you're listening to Game on Hockey on the mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. Wherever you're traveling, I hope the roads are good. I hope you get there safe. I hope if you're heading to Grand Forks for the UND hockey game, make sure to stay tuned. Tim Hennessy with the pregame show at 6:30 as they take on the Colorado College Tigers at 7 p.m. This segment will be brought to you by, golf season will be here eventually. For those of us who love the game so much and are waiting so patiently, or not that patiently anymore, the Golf Center in Grand Forks has been in business for over 35 years. Custom club fitting for Ping, PXG, Titleist, and TaylorMade, as well as custom putter fitting. They also have SkyTrack, so if you're waiting for the snow to melt, at least you can sit in your garage and whack some golf balls around and get some feedback on your spin and all that fun stuff. Good feedback. So when you hit the course in the season, you're ready to hit the ground running. They also have a full line of apparel as well. So whether you want clubs custom-wise, if you want to get used clubs, they've got them. They know the game. They've been in it for an awful long time. The Leach family is legendary in the golf world. So get up there, stop in at 3001 South Columbia Road in Grand Forks, or call 701-775-0019. Brian Leach and the guys will take really good care of you. So with that, we're bringing John in via phone, Mr. Scott Taylor, but he has to be taught the way to use the word Zoom. But we'll work with him with that. But it's great to have our good friend John Marks on. Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Travis. I apologize. I was just actually sitting here in my den, and I just streamed in the game starting as of right now for the state tournament. And when you buzzed me and said, "Hey, we're ready for you," so I quickly tried to get in, and all I came up with an invalid address. So
okay. Well, we move on. That's all right. This is not rocket science, right? As we broadcast to the world, we just have a fun time every week, and so we do appreciate joining us. Obviously, from the great state of Florida, a little bit nicer there than it is here, but we won't get into that conversation. That'll depress us way too much. But Scott Taylor, my good friend from Winnipeg, north of the border, you know Scott. You guys go back a few years. Scott's also on the line with us as well.
Well, terrific, Scott. Well, good to hear your voice coming up here, and hope all is well in the big city up north. My brother's up there. He lives up there, retired school teacher, and so we chat occasionally.
Where are you in Florida?
I'm in Port Charlotte, which is about 45 minutes north of Fort Myers. You have, Fort Myers and Punta Gorda, Fort Charlotte, Venice, Sarasota. Sarasota is about 40 miles north. So we're on the Gulf side, and right off of, the Gulf of Mexico, right off of the big harbor that is Port Charlotte's on the north part of the harbor, and Punta Gorda is on the south side of the harbor. So it's a pretty nice area. It's kind of cleverly hidden right now compared to Sarasota, Fort Myers. Boy, I'll tell you what, it's getting so crowded and down there. Traffic's a bear this time of year.
I'm in Orlando on Tuesday, so I'll be doing this show next week from Walt Disney World.
Okay, yeah. So
my in-laws lived in Englewood for 20 years.
Okay, well that's very close because we go to the Englewood Beach, Minnesota
Sure.
Key is where we go. The community that we live in, it's called Riverwood, and we have a beach club there that we join. So you've always got a parking spot and a place to grab a chair and everything else, at the beach this time of the year. Because otherwise, you can't find a place to park.
Well, it's really getting busy when they move to Lakeland. Yeah, I know what it's like in Florida now.
And a quick side note: how happy are you that the baseball thing got taken care of?
Well, good. It's so good for this economy here in Port Charlotte, and that because we also have like the Tampa Bay Rays, their spring training stadium is actually it might be less than 2 miles away from where I live, and then another 2 or 3 miles a little bit north of me is where the Atlanta Braves built their new spring training facility. So we end up having, as does Fort Myers, two teams here. Fort Myers has the Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins. So this area, Bradenton, Sarasota, they all have teams here, what they call the Grapefruit League. So it's really good for this economy. A lot of people, come and attend. The Tampa Bay Rays Park, holds about 7,000 people, a marvelous facility. And actually, last year and the year before, for something to do, I ushered at the games, at about 15 games, and I was an usher and stationed right behind home plate, section 109, 110, and got to see a lot of baseball.
Well, this is a hockey show called Game on Hockey on the Mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. John, we talked, you and I have had obviously a lot of time to talk about hockey over the years, hanging out at Detroit Lakes Golf Course like you and I do in the summertime. I'm fascinated by the story of the Washington Capitals. You're coaching, you've coached, you've been very successful coaching. Tell us a story of how Bruce Boudreau and you were in the finals for that position. And unfortunately, Bruce Boudreau got the job. But just tell us that story, because it's a fascinating story.
Well, I actually, I guess when you start really evaluating the whole thing, is Bruce has really done a pretty good job over the course of time. And but it all kind of got started. I was coming off of a championship year that we had in Greenville, and I think Bruce was coming off of just being released from the Binghamton team, from the Rangers farm team, but we end up the two finalists for the job in Hershey, which was the Washington Capitals farm team, and George McPhee was the general manager.
Wow.
So fly into Hershey and interview with George, and of course Bruce does, and I was feeling pretty good. I had a pretty good success in the coast, and I coached at that level in Kalamazoo and Indianapolis with the old North Star farm team, their number one team, and of course the Blackhawk team, their number one team. Dominic Hasek, he was my goalie when he was a rookie, so I had a pretty good backstop that one year for half a year. But so anyway, they chose Bruce. And I was kind of like, shucks. And, of course, about halfway through the season, he ends up getting called up to Washington for the head coaching job because they fired their coach in Washington. And I just can't remember that guy's name. He was a redheaded guy that was a goaltender back in those days.
Well, I can't, I don't
yeah.
know that one either.
Glenn, maybe, I don't know.
Glenn Hanlon?
Yeah, no, was he red?
Yeah, he was redheaded. Yeah.
Okay, I think it was Glenn Hanlon. I think it was him that had the head coaching job in Washington, but lost his job. And of course, Bruce gets the call. Well, who does he end up with? He ends up with like a rookie and Ovechkin, a rookie and Malkin, and a couple other pretty good players. And of course, they have a lot of success because they actually had pretty good team going there. And of course, Bruce had some good success, but he just couldn't win that big one, that seventh game, and ends up where? He ends up in Anaheim. And of course, the same thing happened to poor Bruce in Anaheim. He has 2 or 3 tremendous years, but can't win that seventh game, and ends up where? He ends up with the Minnesota Wild. And now he's in Vancouver and done a great job. So he's had a pretty good career. Still hasn't won a cup, but has had a pretty good career. And meanwhile, I kind of say to myself, you know what? Maybe I would have been the right guy. Because I've got a couple of rings on my finger, so that's it. But the other thing about Bruce too, this goes back when I was coaching in Kalamazoo, and we were in the semifinals against Bruce. He was coaching in Fort Wayne. And we had played them about 12 or 13 times during the regular season. I think we were like 12-1 or 11-1 or something against them. And in the first game of the best of 7, we beat them 8-1. So we're up 1-0 in a best of 7. And the next day, the Minnesota North Stars called me because they're going into the Stanley Cup playoffs in the semifinals. They took my 7 best players, and all of a sudden I lost 4 straight. Bruce goes on and wins the championship. So he's been a thorn in my side for quite a while. Yeah.
Speaking of thorns in your side, you played for the Chicago Blackhawks at a time when the Blackhawks were a pretty good hockey team. That was a pretty darn good team. But you once told me a story about your rookie year and a couple of the breaks you got then. Do you recall that first year you had, or first couple of years you had with the Blackhawks? Because you played with some pretty good hockey players.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate. I mean, I came up, from the University of North Dakota as a defenseman, and ended up being, their first round pick back in those days. So I'm the first rounder. I was the first college player picked in the first round ever, and so go to Chicago and as a defenseman, and actually played 3 years as a defenseman. And in the semifinals in 72-73, we're going to play. We beat St. Louis, and now we're going to play. From the New York Dakota as a defense. We have home ice advantage, and we lose game one at home. Their first round pick. Morning we come down for a little meeting on the first round, and first college player picked in the first round to go see Mr. Ring. And I said, okay. So go see him. He said, oh, by the way, he says, John, he said, you're playing left wing tonight. I said, I'm playing left wing. He said, yes, you're playing left wing. And I said, Mr. Ray, I've never played forward in my life. He said, that's okay. You go talk to Stan and Nikita. He said, because you're going to play left wing. It was Stan and Cliff Coral. And I said, oh, my gosh. So I go out. I see Stan. I said, Stan, I said, I'm playing left wing with you. And, of course, he does oh my gosh, rolls his eyes, goes like, are you kidding me? And he takes me to the chalkboard because he didn't have dry erase back then. Takes me to the chalkboard. He said, okay, this is what I want you to do. He said, when you're going to be here on the breakout, when you get the puck, give it to me. And he said, give it to me and stay between the face-off dots and the board. That's your lane, up and down there. He said, I've got center. The center ice from dots to dots, and Cliff Coral's got the dots to the boards on the other side. He said, so when you get the puck, you give it to me. He said, now, stay on the left side. And he said, I'm a right-hand shot, and I like to dangle a little bit. Don't go offside, all right? So he said, once I get the blue line, I want you to just bolt to the net. And he said, I'll either shoot it off your stick or maybe there'll be a rebound. So that's all I did. And we ended up beating the Rangers, and I played got a regular shift with Stan and Cliff, and then we went to the Stanley Cup. But unfortunately, we didn't win. We lost in 6. But our assignment was the line Lafleur, Cornelier, and Lemaire.
Wow!
So, for 6 games in that year's Stanley Cup, my role was to shut down Guy Lafleur, so. Yeah, I think they probably started the rule for hooking and holding and all that, possibly by looking some old tape when I was playing against Lafleur, because they realized that I was really doing a lot to shut him down. But but I ended up playing 6 years as Stan's left winger, and until he retired.
So going to the net was a good idea.
Well, you know what? I ended up. That next year, I think I ended up with 13 goals. And then the next year I had 17. Then I had 21. Then I had 21. Then I had 19. So I was having some success by going to the net. Yeah. But I still today will say this, that I always felt I would have been a better defenseman longer term than I was a forward.
Well,
that's my thoughts.
You've proven that the defensemen are the smartest guys, John. We've always known that all the way along, haven't we? But we only have about 2.5 minutes left. But real interesting. Here's a bigger. Go ahead.
But after Stan, I ended up being Savard's left winger for 7 games. 7 games his rookie year, and the first 6 games I had 6 goals and 4 assists.
Jeez.
And in games,
I remember that.
Yeah, and in Game 7, I broke my leg.
Yeah.
In Denver, I broke my leg, and I missed about 3.5 months. They traded for not Terry. Who was the left winger for Savard after they took me off that line?
Larmer, Steve Larmer, wasn't it?
No, he was the right winger. He was there too, but a tough guy. But I keep thinking they got him from Boston.
Korab?
I should remember.
Korab?
No. Left winger.
Okay,
we'll get him.
But
anyway,
2 minutes.
The first night we played Edmonton, opening against Wayne Gretzky, his rookie game in Chicago. We beat him, and I got 2 and he got 1. And if I hadn't broke my leg, I could have been the great one.
Yeah, you really could have been. You were the great one before the great one. And it's funny because, we throw in a UND connection to this. Darren Jensen was a goalie. He played his first game with Philadelphia after Pelle Lindbergh was killed, and it was against Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. No, it was fun. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
There's no question.
You got that.
Playing with Stan and Cliff Coral, we had a lot of success. We played against all the top lines of every team we played against, Bossy, Gillies, Trottier. I mean, you just call the name, Esposito, Hodge, Cashman. That was our assignment. And we still managed some points and some goals and won a lot of games. And I think they sold out almost every night for those 10 years that I was in Chicago. So it was a great era, a great time, and something obviously I'll never forget.
And John, we appreciate you jumping on board on a beautiful night in Florida. We do appreciate the time, and we'll hopefully do this again, if not this year, next year when we do the Game On Hockey. It's always great hearing those stories from, I think, the legendary John Marks. Thanks, John.
Thanks very much, guys. You guys take care now.
You got it.
Thanks, John.
Scott, he's a legend. He really is. I get the chance to talk to him every day at the Detroit Lakes Golf Course in the summertime. Great stories. What a great man. He really, really, truly is. But anyway.
I always enjoy his time.
Well, with that, we got to say adieu to you. Appreciate you, my friend. We'll do this again next week, next Thursday, hopefully, maybe next Friday. But we're flexible. We'll figure this out. We'll have a great guest line for next week. Make sure to stay tuned after this for Tim Hennessy and the University of North Dakota men's pregame show. And for that, we will bid you adieu from the KFGO studios. And we'll do this again next week from the Nillis Law Firm studios. Good night from Game on Hockey.